So welcome to the Civil Society and Defense and Security Affairs elective. I'm pleased to welcome our moderator, Ms. Sahana Dharmapuri. Ms. Dharmapuri is the Vice President of Our Secure Future, Women Make a Difference.
Okay. Hello, I'm going to move this because I'm kind of short and you might not be able to see me. Move this over here. It's really great to see everyone. This is a big audience and I'm really surprised actually that so many of you are interested in civil society and women's civil society engagement. We have terrific speakers. I don't know, maybe I'll ask the speakers to go ahead and take the stage. Go ahead and take your seats. I'm going to frame the conversation a little bit, but actually, before we start, I just want to show of hands. I want to ask a couple of questions to get a sense of your experience with women, peace, and security and working with civil society groups. So how many of you have worked with women's civil society groups in conflict zones? If you just raise your hand. Just a handful. Okay, so we have some good experience in the room. And then how many of you thought it was easy? One. How many of you thought it was hard? And was it hard because it was hard to understand civil society's interests or objectives? Or was there another reason? You can call it out if you want. Yes? I hear yes. I see some. Okay. So, well, one of the things I think we're going to hear from our panelists, we have a very strong panel on Finland, so you would definitely hear a lot on the Finnish case study, and then we have a speaker who'll be sharing more with us on Burma and women, peace, and security in the Burmese or Myanmar case study example. But I think what I should say to you first, a little bit to frame this, is one, who am I? I'm the Vice President of Our Secure Future, Women Make the Difference. We are we're a private family philanthropy program under that's 100% focused on women, peace, and security. I stood up the bipartisan congressional caucus on women, peace, and security here in the United States in 2020, which we continue to support from behind the scenes. We're not lobbyists. It's advocacy and educational on WPS issues such as women in the military or engaging women's civil society in conversations about national security, for particularly our interest, American interest in national security and global security. And another thing we did recently in the last year that's also relevant to this conversation is we launched the first National Action Plan Regional Academy. So we go to different, one region a year, globally work very intensely with 4 to 5 countries, their ministries of defense, foreign affairs, their civil society organizations, on either helping them adopt a national action plan on women, peace, and security, or further implementing it or improving their design. So that's just a little bit about what we do. There's a lot more that you can check out on Our Secure Future. But why am I bringing up all this stuff? You've heard there's 109, actually 110 national action plans today. The Bipartisan Caucus is a great example of a civil society-led initiative to institutionalize women, peace, and security. So we want to see it at the strategic level in policy. We want to see it at the operational level, and then we want to see it executed right at the tactical level. And that's where it interfaces with the kind of work that you'll be tasked to do when you go overseas in a mission. Another important thing to remember is 2025 is the 25th anniversary of Women, Peace, and Security, and it is women peace builders living in conflict zones who actually created this agenda. And I want to just impress upon you, and so that when you are hearing the speakers and you're thinking about other people you might have worked with in other places in the world, women, civil society groups, listen, they have no money, they don't have an army, they don't have territory, they have nothing. And this group of women in 1990 and 2000 who had nothing, all they had was organizing themselves around this idea on state sovereignty and state responsibility to uphold democratic institutions and the rule of law and rules-based order. That is what they had going for them at the Security Council. And that is why they got a unanimous vote on Security Council Resolution 1325, which a lot of you might say in this room, who cares? It was passed under Chapter 6, which is not required. You don't get penalized. You only get penalized if you don't do something under Chapter 7. But today, we can see the adoption of this agenda being almost customary law because it is in military training. 110 countries have adopted actual policies and plans, and our country leads with a U.S. law on women, peace, and security and the bipartisan caucus and oversight. And that has all been done by women like these here, civil society actors who are not really working with a lot of resources and support. One final thing which is relevant to this conversation, especially from the Finnish side, is keep in mind who knows who the chair of the UN Security Council is going to be, which country in 2025? It's Russia. Who's going to be the co-chair of the Commission on the Status of Women next year? It's Saudi Arabia, okay? So just keep that in mind when we talk about global strategic interests, great power competition, and try to connect in your mind and thinking when you listen to what these women are talking about in their work. So I'm going to very briefly introduce the women, but you'll have their extended bios in your packet. We'll hear from Anna Nurminen, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Lotta Svärd Foundation for Civil Defense. Next, we'll hear from Miia Iivari, Head of Communications, National Defense Training Association of Finland. And then also from Finland is Svea Aksela, Communications and Organization Manager of the Women's National Emergency Preparation Association in Finland. And then finally, we will end with Dr. Miemie Byrd, who's the professor at the Daniel K. Inouye Asian Pacific Center for Security Studies, which that will be a very interesting comparison with the Finnish example. So I would like to have Anna start the conversation for us. Please.
Thank you, Sahana. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you warm greetings from Finland. My role here is to open a little bit the cultural background and history of women's perspective for the active civil society we have in Finland today. Finland, midnight sun in the summer, winter with endless night covered with northern lights in the sky may be the things you have already heard or seen from Finland. For 7th year in a row, we have been recognized as the world's happiest country. This happiness stems out from our deep connection to nature, whether it's swimming in the icy waters or finding peace in our pure nature. I just have to remind you about the Santa Claus, as joulupukki we call him, comes to visit you all next week from Finland. But what makes Finland so unique, active in the civil society and also gender equal? When Russia attacked Ukraine a few years ago, the civil society in Finland was already woken, not afraid, but prepared. The 1,853 miles border with Russia makes us well prepared, but also very thankful for our independence. Now something about the Lotta Svärd organization, which I represent. When gaining our independence in 1917, women's role in the society was strictly at home to take care of family and children. Lotta Svärd organization was founded to assist the civil guard in an unarmed preparedness and defense work. All Lottas, as we call them, were volunteered women, and they had a huge willingness to be prepared in any cases. The specialty was that the Lotta women did not settle in the role they were given from the society, role given by men in that time. Instead, they wanted to change the society to be equal and fair for all citizens. In fact, that really shaped the gender roles in our society, and it took time it became acceptable in our society. The movement, the Lotta movement, was huge. At its peak in the 1940s, almost every fifth woman in Finland was a Lotta. In relation to our population, Lotta Svärd organization was the world's largest volunteer defense organization for women. Lotta Svärd organization offered plenty of education in defense and in preparedness for women. The education was well organized in good cooperation with the Civil Guard and the Finnish Defence Forces. From the Finnish perspective, the role of the Lottas in the World War II was crucial. With the Lottas volunteer non-armed work, the Lottas freed up more than 2 divisions of men for combat missions. Lotta organization was also the first organizations who also offered proper leadership training for women. Over 100 years ago, it was not obvious. That had a huge impact later on in our society when the skillful Lottas took high positions in the politics, finance and also in business in Finland. When the Second World War was over, the Lotta organization was discontinued to meet the terms of the Moscow Armistice. The abolishment did not stop the Lotta movement in Finland. The cost was hard, but Finland kept its independence. The Lottas established the Women's Aid Foundation, nowadays called the Lotta Svärd Foundation, to continue the work of Lottas. Lotta Svärd Foundation's main goal today is to get the know-how of the volunteer women in defense in a better use in Finland. To do that, we give funds to organizations who educate women in preparedness. Miia and Suvi will tell you more about the trainings later. Our goal in the foundation is that these volunteer associations may educate every volunteer Finnish woman that wants to improve herself in the unarmed preparedness and defense work. Because there is no legal position for the volunteer defense education for women, it's funded by private organizations like us. Just to compare, all men in Finland are liable for military service. Women have had the possibility to volunteer as a conscript since 1995 in Finland. Every year, the Board of Defence Information in Finland makes a research about the opinions of Finnish people in Finnish foreign, security and defence policy and national defence. The study shows very high willingness to defend one's country if needed. Before the exact numbers, I would like to point out that the strong willingness to defend one's country is much more than just a willpower. A more comprehensive view on the phenomenon can be achieved by using a novel model of citizens' relation to defence. As I highlighted the facts about the positive sides of Finland, the experience of the state worth defending is commonly very strong with us. You also must have a place in the society as an individual. I think that we Finns like to participate a lot to get the sense of belonging. You also must have the place. And the third part in the frame is the threat. For us, it has always been the big bear in our neighbor. Between those frames, we all individuals make our own relation to the national defense. The pieces that make it are your attitude, trust, agency, and ability. There are differences how individuals experience these dimensions, but what is unique in Finland, both men and women, I think it is the agency and ability to face threats. When Finns are asked, if Finland were attacked, should Finns, in your opinion, take up arms to defend themselves in all situations, even if the outcome seemed uncertain? This year's survey, 79% of us say yes, including 85% of men and 71% of women. But that is just the willpower part. When asked, if Finland were attacked, would you personally be willing to participate in various national defense duties according to your abilities and skills? In that question, 80% answered yes. In that question, 78% of women agreeing. 78% of women are ready to do something themselves, despite of that officially they don't have to, like men as liable for military service. We have a strong heritage of participating from a free will. The term whole of society meant speaking preparedness in different kinds of crises in peace and wartime is essential. I've discussed a lot with women leaders, both military and civil organizations in Finland. And the one common thing is that women do not want to highlight their gender in their role. For us, Finnish women, without saying it obvious that women are able to participate equally. That is also why the gender-based programs are not very common in Finland. Is it that a good thing or not? I leave it that for you to decide. When we look at the military service for women, all branches and duties are equally open to women. The only thing that counts is your knowledge and skills. And from the all conscripts, 2% only are women. That highlights also the importance of the civil society and women in the volunteer work. In my work, I hope that the former generations inspire us to take our positions whenever needed and represent the values we prefer, even in every decision we make for peace and security. Thank you.
Okay. I have to tell that I also work as a coordination of Finnish NGOs in Security Committee, which is one part of my presentation. Okay. First, I will introduce you to the Finnish security strategy of society. After that, we will discuss the role of NGOs in building and ensuring comprehensive security. Then we will move on to the public administrative duties of NGOs and the role of my own organization, the National Defense Training Association of Finland, MPK, in women's voluntary defense and preparedness training. Finland has a long history in ensuring and functioning society together through the collaboration of the four key security actors: government, private organizations, NGOs, and citizens. The Security Committee, which operates under the Ministry of Defense, assists the government and ministries in broad matters related to the comprehensive security. The security strategy for society ensures Finland's comprehensive security model, which is seen through 7 vital functions. Finland's security actors share and analyze safety-related information and plan, train, and work together for ensuring comprehensive security. It forms the basis of the crisis resilience of Finnish society. The first strategy was formulated in 2003, and it has just been renewed for the 5th time. The changes in the security environment in recent years, such as COVID-19 and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, have impacted the preparedness of society as a whole. The most significant reforms include placing psychological resilience at the forefront of the strategy and emphasizing the role of individuals at the center of the strategy. This brings us to the NGO's role in comprehensive security. As Anne just told us, we have a long history of NGOs in Finland. NGOs has official role in the security strategy for society through the network of NGOs, which operates under the Security Committee of Finland's Ministry of Defense. This network brings together approximately 20 different confederations from various sectors of society, including voluntary educational, rescue, social and healthcare organizations. Many organizations within the network of NGOs are traditional women's organizations as Save the Children and women's preparedness organizations. Involvement in NGOs provides women with better opportunities to participate in structuring and ensuring security and voluntary defense in Finland. This provides a different perspective to the security issues in society compared to the traditional male-dominated fields of the military and rescue services. By teaching security skills, providing support and taking care of individuals, we can empower citizens to take active role in the security of society. People with security skills can share their knowledge with their local communities, fostering confidence in their abilities during the crisis. This is a crucial aspect of psychological resilience, one of the 7 vital functions. There is few NGOs in Finland which have public administrative duties concerning security and defense. In Finland, military service is compulsory for all men over 18 years. Approximately 1,000 women annually participate in military service. The role of women is smaller, and therefore one of the statutory duties of the Voluntary Defense Training Association, MPK, is to provide women with opportunities to engage in voluntary national defense training. It is important that also women understand how security and defense is organized in society, that they can participate to security discussions and decisions. Women want to contribute to building Finland's security. They are active volunteers in many NGOs. After the Second World War, organizing national defense training in Finland was prohibited for anyone other than the Finnish Defense Forces. In the 1990s, the Paris Peace Treaty expired, and it was decided in Finland that MPK could legally provide military skills training as the sole entity in the country. MPK was founded by reservist organizations and Finnish women preparedness organizations. The Ministry of Defense supervises and directs the activities of the MPK. Today, MPK conducts military skills and preparedness training for its 14 member organizations in collaboration with them. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, the demand for MPK's training has multiplied. Notably, there has been a significant increase in women's enthusiasm to participate in these trainings. It's remarkable that over 22% of participants in MPK's voluntary training are women, while only 2% of those join the military are women. This indicates that women are very active and eager to contribute to defend the country and building security in Finland. As Anne just told us, the study in Finland told that 80% of all citizens and 78% of women would be willing to participate in various defense tasks according to their abilities and skills. In Finland, we believe that as a new NATO member, we have much to contribute also in terms of comprehensive security and involving civil society and the entire population in building and strengthening nations' resilience. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. My name is Suvi Aksela and I come from the Women's National Emergency Preparedness Association. And I'm here to give you an example as an NGO, what we do to empower women and how we aim to strengthen the safety and resilience of our country. We're a national umbrella organization established in 1997, and these are our member organizations. Some of them are more traditional voluntary national defense organizations, and some are more operating more in the comprehensive security field. And through these organizations, we reach over 100,000 women, and the number is rising. Our vision is that women are at the forefront of security, and our mission is to build women's safety, security, and preparedness skills and create opportunities for women to participate in disruptions and emergencies. I'll be concentrating on the first part of that mission today. Cornerstone of our work is providing non-military training that is open to all women. And we do this mainly by organizing exercises. We organize 4 to 5 exercises each year, all over Finland and in the garrison areas. These exercises some 100 to 400 participants attend these events depending on the size of the exercise, and the women have to pay a fee to attend, and they often also have to take time off work to attend. I often say that it's like buying a ticket to your favorite concert when you're trying to get to one of our exercises, because when the registration begins, our most popular courses can be full within 30 seconds. So the demand is high for this kind of training. It's also worth mentioning that it's volunteers that plan and execute these exercises. We at the association, we help and we guide, but it's the volunteers that are doing all the work. And exercises are organized in collaboration with MPK, that Miia just told you about, and the Finnish Defence Forces. They supply us with facilities and materials and so on. And without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Our training program consists of about 40 courses. Here's a few examples. And where women come to our exercises, obviously, to learn these specific skills. But we believe that when they come, they get something more. They come into a new environment. For most of the women, it is the first time they are in the garrison area. They do completely new things. They get pushed out of their comfort zone. And we believe that it's good for them to endure some discomfort. It builds flexibility of the mind. It helps you to adapt surprising situations and so forth. So we believe that it builds up women's mental resilience as well when they participate in our exercises. And when women complete these exercises or courses, they often ask, what can I do now? Where can I sign up? How can I contribute? And as for the trained women that attend our courses, they are registered in the MPK's register, but not all trained people are registered there. So there are other NGOs as well that are doing training. And what we're advocating for is a national register for all security trained volunteers in Finland. It would offer a lot of benefits, just to name a few. We would know the number and skills of the volunteers. We, as someone who's doing the training, we could direct our resources better. We could create more clearer development paths for the volunteers for specific tasks. And for authorities, municipalities, it would offer a tool for in their preparedness planning. And also, obviously, it would be easier to reach all these volunteers when needed. We've been advocating this for over 20 years, and now it seems like it might be moving forward, so I guess the time is right. The exercises are a good way for women to learn new skills and strengthen their resilience. But it's also a place to meet like-minded women, to make new friends, make new connections, and build communities that way. So it's yet another aspect of enhancing the safety, security, and resilience of our country. Thank you.
Before I ask Dr. Miemie Byrd to give her presentation when we move to a totally different region of the world, I wanted to just ask two follow-up questions or just some framing, and then we can go back to Q&A after for the whole group after Dr. Byrd presents. One question I have is the work that you presented in Finland, is this part of the Finnish Women, Peace and Security National Action Plan? Is this something that women's civil society groups said they wanted to do as part of the Finnish National Action Plan, or is it something separate from the Finnish National Action Plan? Not really.
It's not officially the part of the action plan yet, but now when the NATO came to the official part of that, we are discussing with Elina, who is running the Finnish Women, Peace and Security program. We are discussing to add the preparedness work also to the program.
Into the program because of the relationship with
Yeah.
NATO. Yeah. And then why is the demand so high for the training, as you mentioned?
It has always been high. Our training has always been very popular amongst women, but obviously after Russia invaded Ukraine a few years ago, the demand just got even higher. So women want to be active participants in the society. They want to build up their own skills, and they want that their skills are used to benefit the whole country.
Thank you. Thank you for those.
And also when the Ukraine situation came up, so the Finns know really well what I told you earlier about the cultural and historical background. We have a strong history that women are participating when we are threatened.
Yes. Thank you. And Dr. Byrd, we'd like to hear the example that you're going to share with us. Another part of the world.
Yeah, can I have the
Clicker?
Aloha, everybody. It's a little bit too cold for me here, but let's leave Finland and go to the Indo-Pacific, where we always say from Bollywood to Hollywood, right? That's our AOR. I'm with the Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies. How many of you work in the Indo-Pacific region? Okay. Does everybody know that Myanmar is one country in this AOR that is in open armed conflict? How many of you know that? Okay, all right. So in that context, and then connecting to my panel today, I want to bring in the case study of how civil society capacity building program with a little minor attachment of women empowerment has transformed the operating environment, right? That Myanmar, prior to the coup in 2021, was in transition to democracy. In that 10-year period, a lot of the aid packages came into Myanmar, had that little women empowerment program, right? And that's just a little bit of investment transformed the Myanmar very conservative, male-dominated society. So today, to resist the military regime, to restore democracy in Myanmar, the resistance forces, 60% is women. So this is, I want to demonstrate that. So I'm going to run a little quick video of, can you run the video for me? I think it tells the story better than I could. The role of women in resistance to the military junta.
တာဂတ်တွေပါထိရပါဆိုတော့ဘယ်လိုပြောမှာလဲနောက်ပိုင်းညထပ်ပြီးပို့ပြီးလှုပ်ရှင်စိတ်တွေပေါ်လာပေါ့မရှင်ဆိုရင်ကိုအရန်ရင်ခုန်နေရလीအဲ့လိုမျိုးမရှင်တွေပါတွေထဲမှာထပ်ပြီးချပြီးထပ်ပြီးတိကျအောင်လှုပ်ရှင်တာ
Can you see?
How was that? ငါးလပိုင်းလောက်ကရောက်တယ်အဲ့မှာတင်တန်းတွေပါတက်ပြီးတော့မန်လေးပီဒီကကြအဓိကကျွန်တော်မန်လေးသူဆိုတော့မန်လေးပီဒီထဲရောက်တာ လူမတရားမှုရေလူခွင့်ရေပိတ်တာတွေရောပြီးတော့ကိုယ့်လူတွေကိုပြည်သူတွေမဆိုင်မဲလူမတက်ဖြတ်တာရှိတာအဲ့လိုမျိုးတွေကိုအဓိကတော့မခံရင်စိတ်ပေါ့မခံရင်စိတ်ဆောက်လို့ရောက်တယ်
တွေရဲ့အားကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ယုံကြည်တယ်ဒီတော့ဒီအမျိုးသမီးတွေရဲ့အားကိုအသုံးပြုပြီးတော့မှကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီလက်နက်ကင်ဒေါ်လာရေးမှာအသုံးချဖို့ကျွန်တော်တို့စဉ်းစားတဲ့အခါမှာdrone ကနံပါတ်1အနေနဲ့မှာပါဝင်လာပါ
အရှင်သိရတော့ဆရာလေးပြောပါရဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းဆိုရင်လေ့ကျင့်ရေးအများကြီးထပ်လာအောင်မှာဒါလေးမပြီးသေးဘူး။ကောင်းဆုံးကတော့ကြိုးစားပါပါ။တဖြည်းဖြည်းနဲ့နည်းနည်းပို့ပြီးတိုးလာလေကျွန်တော်တို့ပို့ပြီးကြိုးစားရလေပဲလေ။ပို့ပြီးလွယ်သွားမှာတော့မဟုတ်ဘူး။ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကတော့ခလေးလေးဆက်လာဒီကပို့ထဲမှာထွက်တာနော်။ဟုတ်ကဲ့တခါလေကြာရင်တော့အိမ်ကိုလွမ်းနိုင်ပါရှိတာပေါ့ဒါပေမဲ့တင်တန်းမှာကျတော့ပို့ပြီးတော့တတိရတယ်တင်တန်းမှာကျတော့အဲ့လိုမျိုးပေါ့မျိုးမျိုးဒုက္ခမျိုးစုံရှိတာဆိုတော့အိမ်ကိုပို့လွမ်းတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့တခုရှိတာဖုန်းဆက်ဖြစ်တိုင်းမိရပြောတာငါသမီးတော်လိုက်ပြီးမှပြန်လာမိတို့ကောင်အဆင်ပြေအဲ့စကားတစ်ခုနဲ့အဆင်ပြေပါရှင်
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. All right. So the women are the first one to go out on the street with the peaceful protests because you will hear the word CDM, Civil Disobedience Movement, that was led by university professors, teachers, and doctors and nurses. They went out into the street right after, a couple of days after the coup. And in those profession, they're women-dominated profession. So the 80% of civil disobedience movement, CDM is made up of women, right? And then even after 4 years of, nearly 4 years of restoring democracy, fight for democracy movement, the 60%, it's actually, we get it from PACOM, Indo-PACOM data showing that 65%, but what we see on the ground is about 60% of the movement is made up of women. So this is a women-led revolution or to fight for democracy at the doorstep of China. At the doorstep of China. So women are in the front line to restore democracy at the doorstep of China. And they were talking about, you know, most of the time people think of them in a very much a combat role. Here are some of the, you know, roles that they play over here. They make mines, they make, and the drones, and the head of the drone unit, the engineer, is a woman. Her team takes the agricultural drones and then modify them for combat. And the thing about Myanmar society, a lot of the engineers are women, unlike in the United States. Engineers, doctors, nurses, teachers, those are in journalism, those are very much dominated by women. Women do not, and they don't find politics and military to be their domain. So that is something that they don't get involved prior to the resistance, the coup. But since the coup, as you can see, the women come and drove. One of the things they said is that they don't want to go back. They have gained so much perspective, and their eyes were open during the 10 years of transition democracy, and all these little training that they got, civil society training, has forever transformed the fact that security is related to them, relevant to them. If they're not secure, the country is not secure, and they think they can do something about it. So that's why they're involved in this. So this is unusual. This is in history of Myanmar, that's really unusual, that level of women involvement. In the past, since the Myanmar gaining independence from British in 1948, there has been several uprisings, but women make up like maybe 2 or 3%. To today is 60%. And that deliver pretty much the blow to the military. And right now, military, I'll show you data later on, military junta has less than half of the country under its control now. And that is very much the work of the women. And here are some of the roles they have played. They participate in combat, logistic, engineering, production, medical, fundraising, they are a major fundraiser, and mobilizing the community and keeping the community winning hearts and minds. That's their work. I think that more than combat role, what in this particular operation is the biggest thing is winning the hearts and mind of the communities and deprive the military junta of any logistical support that they rely on these villages and towns. So that's the women's work over here. And they lobby in Washington, D.C. and all these capitals and throughout the globe. And then they are the primary provider of humanitarian assistance to the IDP and refugees in the border areas. So, and all that made up of 60% is women. Yeah. So, and their contribution has delivered a lot of victory for the resistance movement that has never seen this level of success before. So here are the conflict data. And on the left side it's all in Burmese, so I'm sorry, but there are 84 major towns out of 150 is under now the control of the resistant coalition forces. And this level, this is based on, right, Myanmar military junta is supported by China and Russia. Right? Russia provided the jets and the armaments that is used every day to bomb the villages and the towns and the churches and the schools and the clinic and IDP camps. Yeah, and then China also provides some of the aircraft that military is using. So military junta firepower is far outweighs the resistance. The resistance started with the little muskets, and now they have figured out how to modify drones, agricultural drones, and they use that. But the winning, the winning piece of it is the population. Our latest data show that nearly 90% of the 54 million people still reject the military and support the resistance movement. So that's the key, is winning. So military is on the verge of the collapse as a result. And like I said, it's at the doorstep of China. Myanmar is geostrategically essential, critical for China to dominate Asia, because it leads to the west end of the Malacca Strait. And China wants to control the Malacca Strait entrance to the west through Myanmar, and on the east is the South China Sea Islands. So that's where the women come into play, is they're in the front line to stop China from seizing that geostrategically important piece of land. And also Myanmar provide China 75% of the rare earth minerals. And anytime you get rare earth mineral, finished product from China, most of it is coming from Myanmar. And now that rare earth mineral mines are under the control of the pro-democracy resistant forces. So this is just a quick a case study of how little investment in women empowerment program transform our operating environment. And also women, peace and security really provide us with the additional line of effort to engage in some of the unengageable operating environment. Thank you.
Thanks. Dr. Byrd, can I ask you two follow-up questions? One is, you said this programming is so critical, but again, was this programming coming out of a line of effort from the U.S. Women, Peace and Security National Action Plan? How was it initiated? Was it what kind of policy or tool did you use to initiate it?
Yeah, I think it predates Women, Peace and Security. It was just a basic like women empowerment piece of the 8 programs that USAID had. And they started trying to connect after 2017. They started to connect some of the 8 packages into that, but they were already in place that way. But in Burma, it's not like Myanmar is not like the other country. They don't get that much aid. It's a very, compared to other it's peanuts. But even within the peanuts, there's a little more little peanuts, or maybe a grain of sesame size went to the women, empowerment and capacity building, and that has yielded this level of, I think, transformation.
And is the Indo-Pacific Command supporting any further work like this or other?
Right now, I think State Department, Indo-Pacific, the military engagements is completely cut off. Most of the engagement is through the State Department and USAID, but they are currently debating whether or not non-lethal. What is non-lethal? Because Burma Act of 2022 provided, Congress provided administration to assist non-lethal to support to the pro-democracy movement, but that non-lethal word is being debated by the State Department lawyers, so we haven't gone much. So this war is purely financed, self-made, financed by the diaspora across the globe. And then diaspora across the globe is also mobilized. And that also, about 80% are women, because I go to a lot of the diaspora meetings and town halls, and I look into the audience, and a lot of these things are organized by women and attended by women.
Yeah, so that is one thread I wanted to pick up, that we know that most of these types of peace movements or resistance movements are led by women, and we can name other conflicts similar. But what happens when we win the peace? Yeah. What are you seeing as, will those women actually take leadership roles in negotiating and having political representation?
Well, back to, I think, Valerie Hatson's research, right? We can have all the representation, but if we don't change it at the family level, it's not going to go very far. I mean, there are a lot of discussion about women being involved, but I still don't see as many women. But given that 60% of the resistance is women, I would say about 20% of it in the leadership in the resistance, organizations are women. So we're working on that. But that would be something that, if they can figure out what non-lethal support is, they can start to help, that type of effort. And if women can get more resources to do what they're doing more, I think they can demonstrate their effectiveness even more visibly. I think that, all my discussion with a lot of the pro-democracy movement is all about trying to get more women in the leadership role in the decision-maker level to fund many of their non-lethal efforts. They have come a long way, but I think that they have many of the resources go to lethal effort, but in reality, non-lethal has delivered more success than the lethal in this particular, it's a insurgency environment, right? It's all about people power, not about firepower. If firepower delivers the success, then Syria won't happen, right? It won't happen. It would have been Assad. But not, same thing. That's why in Syria, people are saying, may next be Myanmar.
Thank you. And I will open the floor to Q&A. I want to just, as a moderator prerogative, ask the Finnish group one question before we turn it over to the audience for Q&A. So what you're working on are volunteer forces, and you're seeing the demand rise possibly because of, the demand has already been there, you said, but the current security conditions are putting more pressure on civilian population to do this. How are these roles adapting to right-wing political trends we're seeing, or the narrowing of civic spaces? I'm wondering how women's roles in the security sector might be affected by some of the trends.
Maybe I'll start. It's not really, in a way, relevant question in Finland because all of our political parties are like there's no one who would advocate for women's rights to be narrowed, or it wouldn't have any demand in our society. So I don't see it affecting us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In gender issues and also the defense and security issues, I think the political parties are quite in the same level. If our government changes, it doesn't affect really much anything in the security.
Okay.
They are quite united about the security questions. I think that is because of the close border of the Russia, and we all parties know the cost of our independence and how fragile that is.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Sorry to cut you off. We have 1 minute, so I'm going to do a really quick wrap up, and then let's just say thank you to these great panelists. I'm going to just point out a couple of things for you all, which is, what did we talk about? Roles of women in security and defense, mostly led in a voluntary manner, which is quite interesting, and a very different case studies from looking at women in peace building civil society led organizations. So I commend the panel on that, the unique perspective that they're bringing and experiences. But also interesting to note, as panelists note, they're not yet in decision making, even though leading resistance movements or civil society movements. So what I would ask you to all think about, what is the gap there and how to bridge it. And then finally, to connect back to Valerie Hudson's lecture, I think is really interesting that we got a chance to touch on some of the connection to strategic competition and how women in civil society are connecting their work or their perspective about security locally to what's happening at a more complex national or global level. And I think that deserves far more attention. Certainly we haven't been paying attention to that connection yet. But anyway, thank you so much to our panelists for presenting.
Thank you.
And I think we have last administrative remarks here.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dharmapuri, and of course our panelists. Just one quick announcement. This does conclude the afternoon session, but we will resume tomorrow's program at 08:30 with coffee served at 0800. So morning program tomorrow will be in Spruance Auditorium, and then we will transition to the breakout rooms for the elective sessions. For those who require transportation back to the hotel, there are buses waiting outside of the main doors. They will depart here by 16:30. So thank you again, and thank you all for joining us today. Thank you.